As the school summer holidays reach their peak, the atmosphere is lively and relaxed. You find yourself kicking back with mates. The weather is pleasant. Melbourne Park is coming alive, with its iconic blue hard courts gleaming beneath the open roofs of the Rod Laver, the Margaret Court, and the John Cain arenas. There's an unmistakable buzz in the air. The world's finest tennis players are in town, and they all have the appropriate visas. Life is good. The Happy Slam, the Australian Open, stands poised to launch the new tennis season and to raise the curtain on another memorable tournament. A couple of English blokes stir from their slumber. Reality kicks in. Was it all a dream? Not quite. It is cold, dark and wet. But the Australian Open is on. They can watch it on TV. And they do get to chat about it together on this Sporting Almanac podcast. Tennis.
G'day, mate.
Yeah, good day. But before we get to the tennis, you went 5 from 6 in the predictions. Yeah. Very impressive. I have to plug that. I have to toot that horn for you.
Thank you.
Give us some credibility, or get you some credibility. I will hang on to
the 49ers.
Yeah,
just 49ers surprising. Well, it wasn't that much of a shock. Beating the Eagles.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
It was the one that I think you did, maybe it was the one that you said, along with the Jags-Bills, was the hardest to call. But yeah, you got the Rams beating the Panthers, you got the Bears beating the Packers, you got the Bills beating the Jags, you got the Texans beating the Steelers, you got the Patriots beating the Chargers, but the bloody Eagles.
Yeah, ruining it for me.
Yeah.
As they always do.
Divisional round incoming.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. Did you see the breaking news this evening as well that Mike Tomlin has left the Pittsburgh Steelers after 19 seasons in charge?
No, another coach bites the dust.
Yeah. He quit. He didn't get sacked.
Oh, okay.
Whether or not there was pressure, I don't know. Anyone who listened to the NFL episode we did many, many moons ago, Tomlin is only the third coach that the Steelers have had since 1969. Like, their ability to hang on to coaches is legendary. He leaves with the best regular season winning percentage of any Steelers coach, but with a worse postseason winning record than those two predecessors. So it's kind of what his problem was, really. Won one Super Bowl early on, but they were just good enough to make the playoffs, but never good enough to go far in them after that. So I guess they ran out of patience, but there were rumours he was going to go right from the start of the season. Okay. Anyway,
new dawn
next.
New dawn at the Steelers.
Indeed.
I tell you what is next. A little mention in dispatches to Macclesfield Town.
Macclesfield FC, not Macclesfield Town, because this is very good context.
This is good context.
Macclesfield Town folded in 2020, and they were basically Macclesfield FC, or a Phoenix club, as you would call them, rising from the ashes. They've got themselves up to the 6th tier of English football. And in the FA Cup third round, they played Crystal Palace, who are the holders of the competition. And Ben, what happened?
One of the all-time giant killing. One of the
all-time, I'd say.
You say it's the best? I think it could be. You're not wrong.
Statistically, it's the best.
Yeah.
The biggest gap between the two teams, and obviously
the holders.
The holders as well.
Yeah, the holders is the cherry on the cake.
Well, a bit of extra context as well. Just a month ago, Ethan McLeod was on his way home from a game and he had a car crash and died.
Yeah.
One of the Macclesfield FC players. Very, very sad. And the club was still reeling from that. So, they found something. It was incredible. And they didn't look second best as well.
The FA Cup.
Yeah.
The romance.
Can't beat it.
Association football.
Yeah. Wayne Rooney's brother in charge as well. John.
Oh, yeah, it is Wayne Rooney's. Great. Good knowledge. Yeah, just an all-round fairy tale. Only other sporting occasion, really, to throw out there in case people are care is the Masters in snooker is finishing this weekend. So
it is, yeah.
Tune in if you want to. It's one of the Triple Crown events. It's a big deal in snooker. We do the World Snooker Championships here, but we're gonna focus on the Australian Open, not the Masters.
So the only other thing I was going to mention is the AFCON semi-finals coming up.
Yes.
Senegal, Egypt, and Nigeria, Morocco. So come on, the Super Eagles.
Yeah, let's go, baby. Soaring to the final, hopefully.
Yeah, by the time this comes out, you'll know who's in the final. So fingers crossed for Nigeria.
Fingers crossed indeed.
Anyway, I interrupted you.
No, I was just going to say that it's starting. The tennis season is starting. It is back.
Well, it started.
Well, officially, but it doesn't really start until this gets going. I mean, I guess qualification's underway.
Qualification tournament has started for this. Obviously, the main event not starting until next week.
Yeah, chronologically, the first of the 4 slams. I kind of like this. I don't know why, but there are other tennis tournaments that take place in and around it. But for all intents and purposes, the first event of the tennis season is a Grand Slam.
Anyone who is, unless they particularly want a warm-up event, because I think there's a couple of earlier warm-up events in maybe Brisbane. I think maybe there's one in New Zealand as well. Yeah. Unless my knowledge is dated on that. Unless you want a warm-up tournament, what you've been doing is since the ATP finals or the WTA finals, whichever, since then you've probably just been eating mince pies and putting your feet up.
Yeah.
And obviously training hard, ready for this.
This is it. And in actual fact, it's interesting you say that because a lot of the players do say it's too early in the calendar year and too soon after New Year, and it should be bumped. And the Australian officials, specifically Tennis Australia, keep telling everyone to go fuck themselves because
fair enough.
It's in the height of the Australian summer. It's during the Australian school holidays. It's one of very few, as you've already mentioned, Southern Hemisphere tournaments altogether, and it's the only Southern Hemisphere slam. So they're like, we'll do this at our convenience, thank you.
As they should. As you say about it being high of the summer in 2014, 4 consecutive days with high temperatures between apparently 41.5 degrees centigrade and 43.9 degrees. So that's quite toasty.
That's a bit warm.
And there was, heat illness amongst players, ball kids, obviously, spectators as well. And the organisers said that humidity was low enough so it wasn't a problem. But I've been in temperatures like that, and I don't care how dry or humid it was. It is sapping.
Easy thing to say when you're not on court playing as well.
Absolutely.
It can get crazy hot in Australia. I mean, Australians know that. Probably most people know that, to be fair. But Melbourne is I don't know if it's a microclimate, but it's a bit more temperate. And so you don't often see those major spikes, but they are possible. But 3 of the arenas, and we are going to talk about the courts and the venue in a bit more detail in a little bit, but 3 of them do have roofs, so you can close those and flick on the aircon.
Absolutely.
That obviously helps. I mean, I didn't realise this, because when we were talking about AFCON and why AFCON doesn't move?
Yes.
There's a little bit of that to the Australian Open, and obviously we already mentioned some of the reasons. But the big one is attendance and popularity. It's nicknamed the Happy Slam, but because it's in the summer holidays and the Australian school holidays, they get so many people here. It's the highest attended of all the slams by some margin, and 1.2 million people went to the tournament last year when you include qualifying.
That's insane.
Yeah, it is mad, isn't it? The single day attendance record is 97,132, which was also set last year. I
mean, obviously, it's not all in the stadium at once, 1.2 million, obviously, but there can't be many overall sporting events. I guess it's a hard thing to judge because you could say like the Premier League across a full season. Obviously, it's bumped into 2 weeks, but regardless, that is a ridiculously high attendance, and it is the highest out of all of them.
It's crazy when you average it. Same. I would love to go. I'd love to go to Melbourne. Full stop. Absolute sporting mecca.
Imagine just spending like a few months there from like January through to like April, taking in the Formula One season starting, taking in the start of the AFL season, the rugby going on. It'd be brilliant.
Yeah. It would be beautiful. Brilliant. The MCG, the cricket, Boxing Day test, kick around for 6 weeks, and then taking 3 months maybe if you want to get to the Formula One.
Yeah,
unbelievable stuff. But this year's tournament, or rather, our reigning champs. One of our nominations for Villain of the Piece, Yannick Sinner.
Not the winner.
Not the winner, we should say. Not the winner. Yeah, Yannick Sinner beat Alex Zverev last year in straight sets, won his second title. And in the women, it's Madison Keys who beat Arina Sabalenka in 3. Both of those two go into this tournament. I don't know, hot favourites for you?
I mean, probably. I'm flicking a coin in my head who I'd rather win it between Sinner and Djokovic. But yeah,
well, this is interesting.
I guess.
So Sinner's made the last 2 finals and obviously won 2. Alcaraz has never been past the quarterfinals, but he has...
Which is weird.
It's very weird because he's won the US, so he's won on hard court.
Exactly. Yeah, similar enough surface.
Yeah, very similar. Medvedev has been to the final 3 times in 5 years, but lost all of them.
Sounds about right.
Zverev has been to he was in the final last year and he's ranked 3 in the world. And obviously you've mentioned Novak, and he is the Australian Open's daddy, but...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, by a mile. But he is getting old, and we don't know if he's yet safely in the country.
Still number 4 in the world, though. Yeah. Oh, mate. Honestly, that's not the first time you cracked that joke today, and it makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, it won't be the last.
I know. It definitely won't be the last mention.
If you want a home favourite, Alex de Minaur. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. Alex de Minaur. De Minaur. I don't know.
Just keep trying. Throw out every possibility under the sun now. Delete all the ones that are wrong, or I'll leave them in and make you look stupid.
Nah, leave them all in.
Haven't decided yet.
Yeah, I think this is a safe space. Rank 6 anyway. He's a bloody good player. Is what I was trying to get to, and he made the quarters last year at home. Crowd behind him. Stranger things have happened.
You never know.
And if you want a British man to support, then obviously Jack Draper is ranked 10. He actually has a really, really poor. Listen to him, like about to go in on some professional tennis player's record. He's very good across 3 sets, Jack Draper. So he's very good on the ATP tour, and he's won events, but he has barely been past the 4th round in most of the slams, including at the Aussie Open. But if it clicks, he's got a big serve. Hard court, it's fast.
You never know. Yeah.
So it'll be a good tournament.
I mean, it's been a while on the men's side anyway. It's been a while since an Australian won it. 1976 was the last Australian male winner
after a very
of the singles.
Purple patch.
Mark Edmondson. Oh yeah, I mean absolutely. They dominated tennis full stop.
Yeah.
let alone Australians. Let alone in Australia. Obviously, Ashley Barty won the women's singles just 4 years ago, so a bit less of a drought on the women's side.
The extremely talented Ash Barty.
Yeah.
She can play an awful lot of sports at a very high level.
Yeah, you love to see her.
I think she played in the Big Bash. Might be.
What?
I think Ash Barty played in the Big Bash.
That's crazy.
I'm gonna check. I'm gonna verify my own.
You're gonna have to go off on a tangent now.
Yeah. Hold on. National representation, career, Oh, I don't know. I might be making this up.
Yeah. No, she did. She played for the Brisbane Heat in the inaugural Women's Big Bash.
There you go.
In 2015-16, taking a break from tennis to try cricket, because why the heck not?
Yeah.
Scoring 39 off 27 balls on debut.
Yeah. See, there you go. Ash Barty, the very talented Ash Barty. Yeah. Hand-eye is hand-eye.
Before returning to tennis, becoming world number 1 and a 3-time Grand Slam winner.
Yeah, mad, isn't it?
Incredible.
Yeah. I guess that's a nice little way of introducing the women's tournament. Sabalenka's obviously favourite, surely.
Yeah.
Last 3 finals, runner-up last year, 2-time winner. Madison Keys is a holder and ranked 9, so, don't rule her out. But I think actually the thing about the women's tournament, and this is, me and you have spoken about this before, I think, in respect of tennis, is it's just so much more unpredictable than the men's. And
it is, yeah.
Since Serena won in 2015.
Shorter matches.
Yeah, shorter matches. I don't know what the other variables are. Maybe it's just shorter matches. But since Serena won in 2015, only herself, Sabalenka and Osaka have won it more than once, which obviously makes up for 6 tournaments in, what's that, 11 years. But there's been 5 one-time winners, which you don't get in the men's tournament in the same period.
No. There's been, men's tennis was a lot more unpredictable in the past. It's just been dominated so much since the turn of the century by a small number of people, and then once they went off into retirement, a couple more people came in pretty quickly and filled their spot. It just so happens that there's a bit more evenness, I think, in the women's game, and also the shorter games as well make it a bit more unpredictable. So multiple factors.
Yeah, and like
but fun.
But very fun. And if you want to keep an eye out or chuck a couple of quid on a couple of other names, then you've got Iga Swiatek, who's ranked 2, Coco Gauff's ranked 3. Both of them have won slams.
Yeah, I was going to say, all slam winners.
Rybakina made the final 3 years ago, and she's ranked 5 now. So she's obviously familiar and has had good runs here before. But I mean, really, it's kind of anyone's guess in the women's slams. You can have a pretty good punt at who's going to get to sort of the late rounds, but saying who's going to win it, I'm not sure I'm prepared to stick my neck on that block like you did with the NFL playoffs.
Go on. Pick a name.
Sabalenka, if you're going to make me do it.
Go on then.
But that's it. That's as far as I'm prepared to go. Format, is it worth it? Like, it's easy. Straight knockout, baby.
Is it? Yeah, I was going to say, is it any different from...
No.
Either the US Open or Wimbledon that we've talked about previously?
No, straight up knockout.
Might as well, say what the differences are, if there are any seeding differences.
I don't think so. Although
I'm putting you on the spot when I think they're identical.
Yeah, I think they're pretty much the same. Best of 5, best of 3, respectively. Tie break in the 5th nowadays, or the 3rd. There is a seeding system, just keeps 1 and 2 apart till the final, basically.
Easy as that.
So
128 players in 7 rounds, 1 winner.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just a regulation slam. But where did it come from? Because you and I like to...
Where did it come from?
We like to scratch the surface of the history, inform ourselves, inform others, or anyone who cares to listen. And this has actually got quite an interesting backstory, hasn't it, the Aussie Open?
It has, yeah. I mean, it comes from... If you listen to our Wimbledon episode particularly, we tell you where tennis came from, full stop. Tennis became very popular very quickly at the end of the 19th century. It became one of the biggest sports in the world. It was popular with women as well as men, although men obviously did their best to stop women from playing it whenever they could, because that's what men unfortunately tend to do. So it established a foothold in Australia in the late 19th century, mainly around Victoria, unsurprisingly, because every time we talk about sport in Australia, it does heavily centre on Victoria. They love it there. So there was intercolonial competition pretty early on, in the early 1890s. So this is only, 13 years after tennis was invented, potentially, at Melbourne's Warehouseman's Cricket Ground, which is now Albert Reserve. That's actually right next to Albert Park, which is where the Formula One is held in Melbourne. So talk about a sporting area. You could just stay there for the Australian summer and you'd have a good time.
First Australian Open was at the Warehouseman's Cricket Ground as well, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm getting ahead of myself almost slightly now.
Well, no, now that you mentioned it, we might as well say it, but you can still take us through the next 15 years.
So the reason it started and the reason there was a demand for it was the Davis Cup started in 1900 as a competition between the British Isles, as they were called, and the United States. By 1904 and 1905, that kind of time, they opened it up to other countries, Belgium, France, etc., etc., etc. And Australia wanted in, basically, or Australasia wanted in, I should say, because Australia and New Zealand competed together until 1914. So the tournament basically became, let's find regional champions for the whole of Australia to eventually build ourselves the strongest possible Davis Cup team. So the inaugural Australasian Championships, as it was called, was held in November 1905 in Melbourne at, as you say, the Warehouseman's Cricket Ground in Albert Park. A venue very, very much associated with Melbourne's sporting establishment, shall we say, used for very, very high-level tennis before purpose-built tennis centres existed at that point. It was a men's event only, unsurprisingly, in 1905. It would be a few years until the women were allowed in, I should probably say. 1922 was the first women's tournament. The first tournament ran from the 21st to the 25th of November 1905. Drew relatively small field, only 17 players entering the men's singles. The first champion of the men's singles was Rodney Heath, who defeated a man called either Arthur or Albert Curtis. I looked at several sources and no one can agree what his name was. But nevertheless, Rodney Heath was the first winner. So, because it was the Australasian Open originally, although it started off in Melbourne, it moved venues a lot in the early days. They moved from place to place to place, including, with it being Australasia, 1906 in Christchurch, New Zealand, and 1912 in Hastings, New Zealand. So a couple of times it was held outside Australia, the Australasian Championships. The International Lawn Tennis Federation initially tried to create like world championships in lieu of what then became Grand Slam tournaments. They tried to create like a world grass court championship, which was held at Wimbledon, to be fair, and like world indoor championships, stuff like that. But eventually they basically settled on the fact in 1923 that the national tournaments of 4 countries would become essentially the Grand Slam tournaments, which was, of course, the United Kingdom, France, America, and Australia.
Yeah.
So from 1924 onwards, it was considered a Grand Slam along with the others. And as I said, 1922, the women's tournament was brought in for the first time, women's doubles, mixed doubles, and juniors as well. The first women's singles champion was Margaret Molesworth, was the first women's champion. And the name changed from the Australasian Championships to the Australian Championships in 1927 after New Zealand no longer had organisational involvement in it. So yeah, that's pretty much it until the 1960s. Yeah, at that point,
the Open. I define the start of this tournament absolutely fascinating because of the geography of it. Because you're nailed on there with like the development of it. Through the years into what then becomes the Australian Open, as you've sort of alluded to in '69. But at the beginning, because I was having a little dig around as well myself in the archives, the two of the best players in the region didn't play in it very often. A chap called Norman Brooks, whose name is now adorned across the men's singles cup. We'll come to that in a bit more detail in a little bit, but the men's trophy, the singles trophy, is named after him. And a New Zealander called Anthony Wilding. They almost didn't play in.
That's in my notes as well. Why have I got that in my notes?
In the tournament,
Go
very
ahead.
much. Yeah, well, these guys didn't really enter it. Like they didn't play as often as you might imagine for two blokes that were basically considered the best two players of the time. I think Brooks took part only once in 1911 and he won it, and Wilding entered and won twice in 1906 and 1909. But the problem was, and this is why it's so interesting, is that most of the Southern Hemisphere players would go to Europe to play Wimbledon and other majors
I was going to say
at the same time. And obviously Australia is geographically remote. Like the tournament, it took 45 days to get from Europe to Australia on a boat, which is,
and 45 days back again.
Yeah, it's a great point. And back again. And that also meant that
a quarter of a year gone just travelling.
Yeah, and like as you say, it was a regional championship, so there wouldn't necessarily be a need for foreign players to travel down there and play in it, but it really put people off entering it. If they basically weren't from Australasia. So it's, or Oceania as it's probably better known now. Yeah, I thought that was just really interesting. I think the first tennis player to arrive in Australia by aircraft to play tennis were part of the US Davis Cup team in 1946. So that's
crazy.
Puts into perspective how late people were starting to travel over there. And like some of the pre-war greats like René Lacoste, who everyone will be familiar with because of the clothing brand, Bobby Riggs, they only played in it once. And even post-war, even early Open era greats didn't routinely attend. Bjorn Borg didn't play there very often. Ilias Stasi only went there once when he was 35. And like, I don't know, I'm going off here, mate, I'm waffling, but even Australia is massive. And people couldn't travel around it very easily in the early days, especially when the tournament was in Perth. I think no one from Victoria or New South Wales travelled over by train because it's about 3,000 kilometres or 1,900 miles. So like,
that's mad.
It's really difficult to attend this tournament.
That's like the width of Europe.
Right. And like its longevity in that sense, how it survived and then actually has grown into be the most popular slam in terms of fan attendance is pretty remarkable in this context, I think.
It is, and I don't blame the players, obviously. I mean, even today it's a 24-hour trip to get to Australia. Probably 2 flights, or at least a refueling stop somewhere in the middle. But back even when there were flights available, in like the 1960s and 70s, that would not be, or certainly the 1940s, that would be several days. That would be stopovers all the way, probably short hops, refueling stops or stopovers, and then carry on. Probably take you a couple of days, at least 2 or 3 days, which when you're a professional tennis player, is it worth the hassle? When there's probably you could warm up in Europe for a tournament starting in February, March time, which might be worth as much money to you, and even in the 1970s.
The logistics of it as well, like, because you mentioned earlier that it had moved around a lot. It wasn't at the same venue. Obviously, it's now always in Melbourne. But, like, you couldn't necessarily even plan in advance because, as you say, a 45-day boat trip. But where to? Like, I mean, it was hosted in Sydney 17 times, Adelaide 15 times, Brisbane 7 times, Perth 3 times. Like, obviously, you said New Zealand a couple of times, and obviously it's been in Melbourne 66 times. But those figures are quite heavily distorted by where it's currently situated.
Yeah, the fact it's been in Melbourne for a number of years now.
Yeah, I've got in my notes here, the tournament dates fluctuated even. So you don't even know when you're traveling on this 45-day boat trip. You don't know where you're going. You don't know when you're going. Like, yeah, bizarre. I mean, I think there were 2 tournaments in 1920, for example, because the 1919 tournament was held in January 1920, and then the actual 1920 tournament was held in March. So that's mad. How on earth did it survive? Yeah.
It did. It survived on its, presumably, its history and its prestige, but the fact it was, a Grand Slam, even if it was nominal at times, if certain players didn't go. That's all changed now.
It's all changed, but you took us seamlessly to the start of the Open era, and which was a golden period. The end of the amateur era and the start of the Open era is a golden period for Australian tennis. And we can also doff a little cap to Arthur in a minute.
Indeed, yes. So the last ever amateur Grand Slam competition before the Open era started was the Australian Open. The Open era obviously started in 1968, but didn't start until after the 1968 Australian Open, or Australian Championships, of course, as it was there, because it wasn't open until the following year took place. So 1968 were the final ever amateur Grand Slam in Australia.
It's cool that they saw it out, and then obviously also had some of the first greats of the game, of the Open era game, originating from Australia as well. I mean, the first Australian Open in the Open era was in 69, wasn't it? Held at Milton Courts in Brisbane, played on grass. Yeah,
as it was for a number of years.
Hadn't changed from back from 1905 when it was being played at the cricket grounds. But geography continued to impact it, really. That's probably the biggest issue for the Australian Open in the early days. A lot of players just missed it, really. And I think it was also played much closer to Christmas in those early days of the Open era, which again just put people off. Inconvenient dates, remoteness. Low prize money is still a factor, I think, a little bit with the Australian Open. Yeah.
Is it worth discussing the prize money now? Because I didn't know that.
Oh, well, I was going to before I was going to come on to the prize money. With the prize money, look, let's talk about the prize money actually, because there's been a lot of whinging about the prize money. We'll come back to the first Australian Open. The prize money, the players, there's been a lot of noise. They get 3.5 million Australian dollars.
Okay.
1.9 million for the runner-up. 1.1 million for a semi, 665k for a quarterfinal, 420k for the fourth round, 290k for the third round, 200k for the second round. Just for entering this slam, you get £132,000. You actually get paid at the Australian Open for winning in the qualifying rounds as well, although I didn't take down the notes. And look, so Crimea River.
Yeah, I mean, you cut those numbers in half if you want it in Great British pounds sterling, but, I wouldn't say no. It's just when the problem is you're comparing it to the US Open.
Yes.
$5 million or whatever it is for the singles winners there, if I remember rightly, which is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, and prior to 1996, that reflected in the ranking points that were awarded for the Australian Open. The other 3 slams got more.
Really?
Yeah, but not anymore.
That's crazy. It was literally a second class slam. So no wonder people were skipping it. If the prize money's lower and the points are lower.
Exactly, and it's hard to get to.
It becomes basically a warm-up slam. Yeah.
And the dates are hard to, inconvenient. Yeah, hard to plan around or what have you. So, I guess, I don't know. I guess if you're going pro, which is what tennis was doing in the late 60s, then that does become a relevant consideration, doesn't it?
Yes.
Let's just level with one another.
Simple as that, yeah. Simple as that, yeah.
The commercialization of sport, that's what it'll do. But if we could just skip back to 1969, there was quite a few players who didn't go. Laver didn't go. Ken Roswell didn't go. Roy Emerson didn't go. Fred Stoll didn't go. They were upset about their guarantees in terms of prize money, basically. I think they might have all been represented by the same management company who were probably party to the professionalization of tennis, blah, blah, blah. But there is one dude who did go, the boy, Arthur Ashe. And he won it.
Ashe.
And he won it all.
1970.
Which is pretty cool. Sorry, he won in 1970, not in 1969. Well corrected.
Yeah. We'll come back to 1969 in a second, because that's worth talking about too. I did wonder when you were saying that, I was like, you said 1770. It's fine.
I got a year ahead of myself.
Arthur Ashe is always worth mentioning.
Yeah. I was just chomping at the bit to mention him. But yeah, sorry, tell us then again about the first tournament, because I've told us about the second one.
You have told, but I was looking at it, I was like, pretty sure Rod Laver did compete in the first one, and I know that because he won it. Because 1969, no one else won a men's Grand Slam other than one Mr. Rod Laver. Rod Laver being an Australian man. Still going. He's 87 years old now. Still going. Still gets called upon to give his opinion this time of year, as you'd expect, as he's definitely earned. So he started off successful on the amateur tour in the early 1960s, winning a few Grand Slams, Australian Open twice, 1960 and 1962, French Open in 62, Wimbledon 61, 62, and US Open in 62. So again, if you were listening closely, that's 1962. That's a season Grand Slam, albeit when it was in the amateur era. What he then did is he went professional. So 6 years of his potential Grand Slam winning career was lost. Don't get me wrong, he was very successful in the Pro Tour. But
he won all three of the Pro Tour majors in 1 year.
There you go.
In 1967.
There you go. Yeah, he was the Don. He was the Don of the 1960s. And when you stack up his number of overall Grand Slam wins, which is 11 in total, and then taking into account he missed 6 years at his prime, where they could have been taken into account. But as I say, he came back. Once it turned pro in 1968, he won he won everything. I mean, why are we beating around the bush? He won the first Open Wimbledon championships in 1968, and then in 1969 he became the first and only man, am I right in saying? I don't think there's anyone else to win all 4 Grand Slams in a calendar year.
That's correct.
Although there have been players who've won it.
There have been players who've held all
Novak.
4.
Novak is Novak the only one, or were there others?
I think Federer held all 4 at once, maybe. Or maybe he didn't because of the French.
Because the French, yeah. Would have been good timing if he did, because he only won that one time. Anyway, I think Novak might be. I think the Novak Slam might be the only other person to have held all 4 at once, but to win all 4 in a calendar year, dominant.
It's completely ridiculous. There's a reason that the Rod Laver Arena is the centre court. Yeah, I mean, that's a good opportunity actually to explain that. It was opened in 1988, has a capacity of 14,820. It's equipped with a retractable roof. It was originally the National Tennis Centre. It then became centre court. And then as of January 2000, quite rightly, in homage, in deference to the greatest player to ever grace it, Rod Laver. Now the Rod Laver Arena. Look, mate, you've given us a little taste of the Rod Laver statistics. Can I sprinkle a bit of spice on top of that?
Oh, you always need spice, Ben. Go ahead. That's a weird thing to say. Go ahead.
Ranked number 1, professional player, undisputably, for 5 years from 65 to 69. Some sources also would accredit him with 64 and 70. He is ranked number 1 across the amateurs in 61 and 62. He won 200 singles titles across his amateur and professional career, the most won by any tennis player at the time. He's won 11 slams, as you said, plus 6 final defeats and 8 pro major titles, plus 6 finals there. So if you add those together and you would say, the pro major titles were the equivalent to Grand Slams or what have you, he's got 19 of them, plus another 14 finals. He won the
That's
Aussie Open
ridiculous.
3 times, the French Open twice, Wimbledon 4 times, the US Open twice. You've already mentioned the Slam. He won on every single court surface of his time, grass, clay, hard, carpet and wood, which is mad. They used to play on carpet and wood.
Yeah.
He contributed
thinking about the splinters. I hope it was very well polished wood.
contributed to 5 Davis Cup titles for Australia during a time where the Davis Cup was deemed as significant as the 4 majors. He won 6 slams, including 4 Aussie Opens in doubles at 3 of the 4 championships, having lost 3 times at the US Open doubles final, which is the only one he didn't win. He still made 3 finals, and he won 3 mixed doubles titles and 2 slams, but lost in the Aussie Open final. Unfortunately, didn't win a mix there. So, yes, It's called the Rod Laver Arena for a reason. Like,
I don't think anyone's disputing that. I'm sure there's plenty of people who will be sat in the Rod Laver Arena this year who will happily tell you that Rod Laver is the greatest tennis player of all time, and they probably have a pretty strong argument.
Oh, they
certainly would have done. Certainly 25 years ago, they would have done.
Yeah.
It's hard to know who would have competed with that record.
Oh, for sure, man. Like he is something else. The only reason I go off on one about that, though, is because you're quite right. Anyone who's Australian listening to this, anyone who gives a toss about tennis listening to this, but there'd be quite a lot of people who might have heard the name, but like, how good was he? Because we didn't see him play. Well, he was really good. Really good.
He was. I mean, bear in mind, like, when he came back to the, when the Open era started as a professional, he was allowed to play the Grand Slam events again. He was 31, 32 years old by that point. So he was right near the end of his career. Obviously, players don't play quite as long as they do now. Novak Djokovic being 38, nutrition, etc. Not quite the same as it is now. 31, 32, right near the end of his career. And then those early ones, the 61, 62s, were when he was sort of approaching the peak of his career. And then those 6 years in between is what he missed out on. I mean, he might have just won everything in the meantime had he carried on playing. He might be on 25 Grand Slams at this point. Yeah. It is scary to think.
That's it. And the statistics don't do him justice, because a lot of the statistics only show you the Open era, right?
Yes.
So you could be lulled into a false sense of security when it comes to measuring Rod Laver up against some of the other greats that people might be more familiar with.
I think I was, to be fair. I don't have... That's why I sort of defer to you a bit about the professional tournaments in the 1960s. I don't have a huge amount of knowledge on them. We've not done research into them. As a sort of, fairly big tennis fan, but not huge tennis fan, I've just never really looked into it. So I don't know a huge amount about them, because obviously we are so hyper-focused on those Grand Slam tournaments as modern tennis fans. For good reason. But
for good reason. It's a bit like golf in that sense, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we haven't even explained how we got to Melbourne, because the tournament we've been discussing was in Brisbane, and then it moves again to the Kooyong Lawn Tennis Club, where it's hosted between 1972 and 1988. I think it's in that period when it's at Kooyong when the International Tennis Federations start getting a little bit fidgety.
Yeah.
And trying to persuade Tennis Australia to change the location and give it a permanent site and improve facilities, change the surface, that sort of thing. I think did it stem from, was it 83, where Lendl McEnroe and Mats Wilander, who is an interesting chap for a very specific reason. Do you know what it is?
I don't. I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Only player to have won it both on grass and hard court.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
But yes, long and short.
Good anorak fact.
International Tennis Federation were unhappy about the venue. They wanted a much bigger venue. So move they did. And where did they move to? Well, spoiler, because you already know. Melbourne
Would it be
Park.
Melbourne?
Yeah. 1988 tournament was first held at Flinders Park, as it was then known. It's now called Melbourne Park. And that led to the change in surface. It was that change in 1988 from grass to hard court. And the move was an immediate success.
I can feel you chomping at the bit to talk about that hard court surface. I know it's coming. I'm just excited. I can't wait to learn about it.
We're going to talk acrylics. No, but the thing that's interesting is that I don't normally throw a bone to international federations of sports, but on this occasion I think it's probably worth mentioning that the ITF were right. There was a 90% increase in attendance from the previous year. So, it was the building blocks, the foundations for what has, as we've already mentioned, become the Happy Slam. Good advisory work.
Yeah, they've done their job. Credit where credit's due.
Credit where credit's due. But that's surface, formerly grass. Yeah. They've used 3 types of hardcourt, Jack. 3 types.
Wow. I didn't know there were that many types of hardcourt, except I did because you already explained this in the US Open episode, but you go on.
Yeah, I mean, it's all pretty boring stuff, but it started from between 1988 and 2007. They were on the green-coloured Rebound Ace, which is a cushioned tennis hardcourt composed of polyurethane, rubber, fiberglass and other materials on top of an asphalt or reinforced concrete base. Apparently you can adjust the friction of the Rebound Ace by adding sand to the top layer, so it can customize the bounce of the ball and the general speed of the court, which I think is actually probably quite a useful thing for a hardcourt tennis tournament.
Yeah, I would say so.
But yeah, it didn't last. In fact, there were some complaints in 2002 about the surface becoming sticky in hot temperatures, some unsubstantiated claims of it increasing the prevalence of injury. But anyway, it was also used on the surface of the Sydney 2000 Olympics at the New South Wales Tennis Centre. That was the long-standing surface. It then changed to the blue plexi cushion between 2008 and 2019, which is another brand of acrylic-based hardcourt. I think it's out of Massachusetts in America.
Boston. Just say Boston.
Yeah, it's used quite a lot of professional tennis surfaces now. Interestingly, only Federer and Serena Williams have won on the Rebound Ace and the Plexi Cushion Prestige. Did you know that?
Nice.
Bit like Maxwell Ander in that sense. I don't know how different the surfaces were. I don't know.
Does it matter when your surname is Williams?
It does not. Or Federer.
Yeah.
But yeah, now, as of 2020, we're looking at the blue-green set, confusingly named. Still acrylic hardcourt, unsurprisingly. Basically an acrylic resin with silica on top of asphalt or concrete. Same surface as the ATP finals when they were hosted in London. Same as the Cincinnati Open. Same as the Rio Olympics in 2016. Yeah, hardcourt. It's fast. It's bouncy. Different to grass.
Yeah, it's good to watch. It's fun. Not as good as grass.
Not as good as grass.
We would say that because we're British.
We're British and we're traditionalists. And
we're biased as hell.
And we're extremely biased.
Yes.
But yeah, that's the surface. What about the courts? Well, we've already spoken about the Rod Laver. There's 35 of them.
That's a lot. No wonder they get so many fans.
Yeah. I don't think they're all competition courts, but there are 35 in the complex. There are 5 big dogs, though. We've mentioned Laver. The second biggest is... Do you want to have a guess?
The Margaret Court?
Yeah, the Margaret Court Arena. Confusingly. There's a reason they call them the arenas.
That's a much better name.
No, it's not. But should we talk about the Margaret Court Arena? Because that comes third, and then I'll tell you what the second biggest is. Margaret Court Arena, since you mention it, is the third biggest, 7,500. Also has a retractable roof. Formerly Show Court number 1. Now, Margaret Court is a bit mad. She's an old lady now, and she has always been an evangelical Christian. So she says some controversial stuff. But before we asterisk why this court's been named after her, allow me to justify why it is named after her momentarily before we discuss whether it ought to continue to be named after her. She is unbelievably good at tennis. It's named after her basically because she's won 24 women's singles majors and a total of 64 major titles, including 19 women's doubles, 21 mixed doubles. She's got the most in tennis history out of anyone. She's got 192 singles titles, more than anyone. She completed the career Grand Slam age 21 with a victory in 1963 at Wimbledon. She then did it again in 1970 as part of a record of 6 consecutive major singles victories. She's won the Aussie Open 11 times, including 4 open era titles between 60 and 73. That's the stretch of the 11. Yeah. She was in
11 times in 14 years. Ridiculous.
Insane, mate. She was in every single final except 1967 and 72, which she didn't enter. I think 72 is because she had a baby. Then she decided to come back. She's also got 5 French, 3 Wimbledon, and 5 US Open titles. Oh, God, mate. After she returned from giving birth, she went and won 3 more majors in 1973. She's one of only 3 players in history, all women, to have won what they call the boxed set, which is every major title in the singles, doubles, and mixed doubles. She's the only tennis player in history to have completed the double box set, so she's done that twice. Like, she's only one of 6 players to win a double career Grand Slam. Which
I just love the fact there's going to be a big old butt at the end of this.
Yeah, Roy Emerson, Martina Navratilova, Frank Sedgman, Doris Hart, and Serena Williams. She won the Fed Cup, which is the Davis Cup in women's tennis, on 4 occasions. And she's also a deeply Christian, evangelical Christian from Pentecostalism, which is quite an extreme wing of Christianity, I think. And she's been a member of that since the 1970s. She became a Christian minister in 1991 and founded Margaret Court's Ministries. And so what does that all mean, Jack?
I mean, she doesn't...
You want to do the honours?
Where do I start? Okay. It will surprise no one to know she is not a supporter of same-sex marriage, for a start. She's been a big critic of it. Obviously, that has led to her clashing with a number of famous female tennis players, particularly Billie Jean King, Martina Navratilova, obviously. In addition to that, she was... her attitude towards apartheid, I mean, there's a lot of people who are neutral on apartheid in the 1960s and 1970s. There's very few people who are for it. And Margaret Court...
it's a bold stance to be for it.
I mean, to quote, South Africans have this thing better organised than any other country, particularly America, referring to racial segregation. So, yeah.
She's mad. They probably shouldn't continue to name the court after her, but...
So, I mean, obviously, attempts have been made to change it.
Yeah.
There's plenty of politicians, Malcolm Turnbull being a cited example, who've rejected calls for the name change, saying it celebrates her as a tennis player, not as a human being. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, people are allowed a wide range of diverse views, but yeah, that's a little bit outside the Overton window for my liking. So, yeah.
No, I think there's merit in that point. It's you cannot, and it would be impossible, and nor necessary, arguably, to eradicate her from the history of tennis, because she is a sensational tennis player. But I don't think you need to celebrate her by naming courts after her any longer. That would be my personal view. But others...
I would be inclined to agree.
Yeah. Yeah, if you disagree with us, then, so be it. But, yeah, horses for courses on these subjects sometimes.
Indeed.
The second biggest, the one we jumped over. And the reason I jumped over it, mate, is because I thought that you would actually like this. It's named the John Cain Arena. Opened in 2000, cost $65 million to make. Has a capacity of 10,300. Also has a retractable roof. Tim Henman played the first game on it, which is quite fun.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and won. Basically, it was originally the Melbourne Park multi-purpose venue, and very catchy. And then it was changed to the Vodafone Arena. Then it was changed to the Hisense Arena, obviously all for commercial reasons. Then it was changed to the Melbourne Arena. However, in 2021, it was named in honour of John Cain Jr., the late Premier of Victoria, who is regarded as basically a very important figure, a critical figure, arguably, in keeping the Australian Open in Melbourne during the 1980s, when there was an attempt to move it to, I think, to New South Wales. And it's been named after him posthumously.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah. It was named after him posthumously, which is sad. And the reason I say that is because he's an interesting bloke and who I knew nothing about. The only reason I started looking him up is obviously because I wanted to know why the stadium was named after him. He forced exclusively male-only sporting clubs like the Melbourne Cricket Club and the Victorian Racing Club, which are obviously private clubs on private land, to accept women as full members. The Victorian Racing Club in particular, I think, had quite a notorious set of lines painted on the ground, which they forbade women to cross. which is which is pretty wild. And he basically said they have to go if you ever want any more of my government funding. He attended or watched every single Aussie Rules Grand Final from 1942 until his death.
I love that.
Yeah. And he's basically just like a bit of a people's champ. I mean, I don't know anything about his political career, and I'm sure, as in all politics, he divides and probably pisses off some people. But he sounds like a worthy honour, considering the highlights of his career, at least.
Yeah.
And his dedication to sport in Victoria. But he, perhaps fittingly, this court's known as the People's Court. It gets pretty rowdy, particularly when Aussies are playing on there. It's also got the cheapest tickets, which I quite like.
Good.
So, yeah, if you get a ground pass, you can get into the John Cain Jr. arena. And it's also quite close to the edge of the court. So, yeah, pretty cool place to play tennis, I imagine.
Yeah, I quite like that. I particularly like it because, as you say, he was obviously a huge tennis fan, as much as anything, as well as being a man who fought for the sport to be in where it all began. Yeah. Melbourne.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Well, it all began in Australia anyway. Yeah.
It's not for two British guys who don't know an awful lot about a politician to say that he was... I mean, they must love him. Why am I caveating it? They named a bloody stadium after him recently. So let's just leave it there. Let's leave John there. I mean, rounding off the show course, mate, there are 3 others. Kia Arena, which I quite like because it's one of those ones that's dug into the ground.
Yeah.
And it's located between the Rod Laver and the John Cain arenas. Open air. They're all open air outside of the big 3. Can host 5,000 people. And then you got 2 other show courts, which can host 3,000. So yeah, pretty cool.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I like how all the slams seem to have an underground court.
Yeah.
We're 3 from 3 so far, so we'll have to see when we finally do the French Open if they've got one as well. I don't want to find out till we do our research.
No, well, I agree. I want to leave that to see if they let us down at Roland Garros or not. But yeah,
it would be very French if they did.
So yeah, that's where you go if you want to win the big prizes. And we mentioned earlier that the men's singles trophy is named after Norman Brooks. We've already explained really why. Yeah, after his playing days, the only other thing to mention about him really is he became the president of the Lawn Tennis Association of Australia, which probably helped getting his name on the trophy.
It probably did no harm, especially if he was in charge of naming it. No, I'm sure he wasn't.
I actually think
that would be a very Donald Trump move.
It would be a very Donald Trump move, and we'll come to our standing item shortly. But I was just going to say there is actually a really good story behind the name of the women's singles title, which is the Daphne Ackhurst Memorial Cup. Daphne Ackhurst was a former Australian tennis player, and the trophy was donated by New South Wales Tennis Association. The original Australian Open Women's Singles Trophy was actually retained by Ackhurst after she managed to win the title 5 times, which are her only single slam titles. She won 5, but all 5 of them were Aussie Opens. And that was a tradition, as is often the case. It's not unique to the Australian Open. You and I know that. She became the perpetual owner. They obviously needed a new one. They created it. It was donated. And the thing that I thought was really interesting about her is she won a series of Aussie Open doubles and mixed doubles titles as well. But her best finish at a slam outside of Australia was only the semi-finals of Wimbledon in 1928, and she made a French quarter-final as well. But rather brutally, she died aged 29 from an ectopic pregnancy.
Oh, nasty.
Yeah, and the reason I thought that was really tragic is, I mean, obviously this is pre-war and pre the marvels of modern medicine, but an ectopic pregnancy now in the developed world is just so easily treated. It still can create complications, but you would be extremely unlucky to die from it.
Yeah, relatively speaking, certainly, yeah.
Yeah, and I just thought her story was worth mentioning in passing, in brief.
A sad ending, but nice, obviously, that she's memorialised again. Very worthy, from the sound of things, as a player.
Yeah, but if you win it, do you get to keep it? Of course you don't. They give you a replica. Never let you have it.
Never let you have it. Wouldn't be special if they did. It's like if they just make a new trophy every year for people, it's not the same trophy. It's not the same.
It's a photo shoot.
You have to lift it and then you give it back.
Yeah, it's a photo shoot opportunity only.
Yeah.
But, you can...
Back in the museum.
you can console yourself with the 3.5 million Aussie dollars that you'll also be pocketing. I mean, that was kind of it, really, mate. Other than to talk a little bit about the famous sons and daughters.
Yeah. I've got a couple that need mentioning, but where are you going to start?
So start with the easy one. Novak's won 10 of them.
He has won 10 of them, more than anyone else other than, obviously, Margaret Court.
Yeah. Roy Emerson's won 6 of them. The GOAT has won 6. That's Federer, by the way. I'm just biased. And Agassi won 4. Yeah, most in a row is also Novak, and he's done that twice. He's won 3 in a row twice. 2011, 2013, 2019, 2021. And you've already mentioned Margaret Court's got 11. Serena's got 7. But yeah, go on. I'm dominating with the easy pickings, the low hanging fruit.
I mean, it's not so much one of its glorious sons and daughters, but an incident certainly worth mentioning is from the 1990 tournament, where one John McEnroe found himself on the wrong side of a disqualification.
You cannot be serious.
You cannot be serious. So basically, John McEnroe was the first player to be defaulted, as they call it, from a Grand Slam since 1963. Now, John McEnroe knew exactly how far he could push the rules, basically. He knew exactly how many rackets he could smash and how many umpires he could yell at before he'd be disqualified, hence why he never got disqualified. The problem here was, it used to be 4 violations would get you kicked out, and then they changed it to 3 violations before this tournament, and unfortunately no one told John McEnroe, so he got his... I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
So good.
He was leading in the 4th set when this sort of escalated. Obviously he's very much known for his argumentativeness, but he got a conduct violation for glaring at a lineswoman he believed made a bad call, so that was strike 1. He then smashed a racket.
Glare, I can imagine that.
He then smashed a racket in frustration. That was strike 2. And then he swore at and argued with an umpire, which you could argue is probably good enough to get you kicked out anyway. But that was that was strike 3, and he was gone. Yeah, the crowd reacted with boos to the news that he was disqualified. McEnroe just stood there looking stunned on the court. And as I said, he was unaware of a recent rule change, reducing the default process to 3 steps: warning, point penalty, then default. So yeah,
I got a funny feeling they knew exactly what they were doing.
What, when they didn't tell him?
When they didn't tell him, when they changed the rules.
That feels like nowadays.
That feels like a targeted rule change, if there were ever one.
It would be clicks galore if that happened nowadays. Everyone would be on YouTube in a flash.
Yeah.
Replay after replay. There's one other woman I'd like to mention. I don't know if you've got anyone to mention in the meantime.
From the female side of things, I would have only mentioned that Steffi Graf, Martina Hingis, who is also the youngest women's champ at 16.
16 years old, incredible.
That is insane, isn't it? Margaret Court and Yvonne Goolagong-Crawley and Monica Seles, who I think you want to talk about.
I do want to talk about Monica Seles, yeah.
Have won 3 in a row. So,
because Monica Seles, as you say, she won 3 in a row, 1991 to 1993, and was the number 1 tennis player in the world. Her main rival at that point was Steffi Graf. She'd beaten her in the 1993 final to make it 3 in a row for her. Unfortunately, as many people may be aware, in the end of April 1993, she was playing in the Citizen Cup in Hamburg when she was attacked by a fan who ran on through basically, no security whatsoever, and stabbed her in the back with a knife. It went a couple of centimetres into her, didn't cause any sort of career-threatening injuries, but obviously caused major psychological scars for her, as you would imagine. Her attacker was a man named Gunther Pasha. I think that's how you pronounce it. I might be completely wrong there. I don't really care what his name is. Anyway, he was arrested. He didn't spend that much time in prison because he got a suspended sentence. Basically, he was
suspended sentence for stabbing her.
He was obsessed with Steffi Graf, allegedly, at least this has been reported, and did it basically to try and give her the best chance of being number 1. He basically ended up living in a care home because of his psychiatric conditions. And
okay, so he was hospitalized. I feel better about that now. But
yeah, he died in 2022.
Okay.
Monica Seles spent quite a long time out of the game recovering. It removed her from competition for more than 2 years. So the WTA considered freezing her world number 1 slot while she was absent, but they put it to a vote of players and they decided against it. Steffi Graf was not amongst those who voted on that day. It is worth pointing out, obviously, she was the world number one in her stead.
Talk about using it to your advantage. Jesus.
Yeah, I don't love that.
Yeah, I don't love that either. Selfish players.
I mean, it was sort of semi-rectified later, but yeah, I don't love that. Seles struggled with depression, eating disorder in that time. She obviously, she feared she wouldn't come back. She eventually did. She returned to competition in 1995, and she won her first competition back, which was the Canadian Open in 95, beating Amanda Coates in the final. She reached the final of the 1995 US Open, beating multiple top 10 players in straight sets, but she lost against Steffi Graf in that final. But then, in January 1996, she came back to Australia, where she had been essentially unbeaten for, what would it be, 21 games in a row. And she made it all the way to the final. She had a stunning comeback in a semi-final against Chanda Rubin. She was 5-2 down in the deciding set, very, very close to defeat, and fought back to win that. And then she met Anka Huber in the final, won it to claim her 9th major singles title, and essentially her 4th Australian Open title on the bounce, because she missed, obviously, 2 seasons after the attack. But yeah, that was her last Grand Slam. She was still competitive after that, but never reached the levels, unfortunately, that she did prior to the attack. She played her last professional match at the 2003 French Open, member of the International Tennis Hall of Fame now, obviously.
Yeah, well, rightly so. That is sport. That's a great story.
She was very, very critical of German authorities and the German legal system. She was of the opinion that had that happened in almost any other country, there would have been a custodial sentence at play. But, I mean, let's not go into that as an argument, but
I think that's
nevertheless,
as the victim of the crime, I'm very happy for her to hold that view.
I am too, especially considering the effect it had.
Well, right, and if someone stabbed me, I'd be like, I would want justice, unless of course I deserved it.
I can see scenarios where you would deserve it, to be fair, but I have known you for a long time.
Yeah, no, mate, it's a great story. It's one of the great Australian Open stories, actually. That sort of, yeah, like you say, almost like a rebirth of the career after a very traumatic incident and a re-summiting of the mountain. But
yeah, good way of putting it.
It's just very cool. Yeah, I mean, do we give shout-outs to the Bryan brothers and Navratilova for their doubles records? Probably should. They've won the most.
Yeah, I mean, they're very good.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the Bryan brothers are really, really good at men's doubles, or were. Navratilova's just really good at tennis.
Yes, and was for an incredible number of years, frankly.
Yeah, the longevity, insane.
Dominating the singles, and then, as she got older, dominating the doubles too.
Yeah. We've obviously paid our respects to Rod Laver's career in terms of Australian successes, and we mentioned in passing, and I think this is doing him a disservice here, really. Roy Emerson's 6 titles from 7 finals. That's an insane record. And Fred Stoll doesn't get enough mentions either. 2 final defeats, another Aussie who is part of that golden era.
Yeah. I mean, I can't emphasise this anymore. The Australians were so much better, as in the men's game certainly, than any other country in the 1960s. It's incredible the talent that was produced. Unsurprisingly, they won a lot of Davis Cups in that time, even without Rod Laver, because the Davis Cup was only for amateurs until, I think, the 1970s, 1973, maybe sometime around there. And in 1973, he came back and he won his 5th Davis Cup then. But I've got off topic and talk about Rod Laver again. I do apologise.
Well, mate, it's easy to do, but your point about the Australian dominance is spot on, because in the 50s, you also had Ken Roswell, who won 4. You had Ashley Cooper, who won 2. A couple of one-time winners, Mervyn Rose, Lou Hode, Neil Fraser, who was a finalist, Frank Sedgman, Rex Hartwig, also finalists. Bill Bowery won 1. Mate, the Aussies dominated.
They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
The 50s and 60s were a joke. They were an actual joke. But our boy, Arthur Ashe, did make 4 finals here as well. He only won 1.
He did?
But he made 4.
He did.
I think he played some of the... Yeah, he lost twice to Emerson, beat Dick Creeley, and lost to Ken Rosewall as well in the 70s.
Yeah, no shame in any of them.
No. I'm just having a quick look to see what the sets were. His 1966 final against Roy Emerson was a pretty good game. 6-4, 6-8, 6-2, 6-3 before tie breaks. That was quite fun. Yeah, British representation at this tournament. We have never won it, but that is not through lack of trying. I say we've never won it. We've never won it in the Open era. So Fred Perry won it in 1934. I think I'm right about that. I will verify myself. Yes, he did. He beat Jack Crawford 6-3, 7-5, 6-1. But poor Andy Murray.
I know, I was going to say that you're basically just talking about Andy Murray, aren't you?
Yeah.
Poor Andy Murray.
I am just talking about poor Andy Murray. Made 5 finals, lost all 5, 4 to Djokovic and 1 to Federer. Yeah, I mean, what can you say, really?
I think he only won 2 sets in all 5 games as well. He was soundly beaten in most of them.
He was. 2013 and 2015 were closer games than perhaps the scoreline reflects, because he won the first set on a tie break, but then he lost the second on a tie break, and then the 6-3, 6-2, and then against Novak again a couple of years later, lost the first on a tie break, won the second on a tie break, 6-3, 6-love. Yeah, poor Andy.
Oh well.
He'll just have to make do with his 4 Grand Slams or whatever he's got. I think it's 4, isn't it?
3 in a Davis Cup.
3 in a Davis Cup. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look, that his record at the Australian Open serves to illustrate the dominance you were talking about of a few guys through a particular period of time, because he could have easily been an 8 or 9 time slam winner. He made the final of every slam and only won 3.
Yeah. 2 Olympic golds as well, worth mentioning.
Yeah, they are. But yeah, I mean that's the Aussie Open, mate. It's I don't have a heap more to say about it, really.
No, I think that's more than enough.
Yeah.
Where do we watch it? Here's the next question. I know it's on TNT in the UK.
It is.
For the first time, because I keep getting advertisements when I'm listening to my podcasts. Probably because I'm listening to tennis podcasts recently. That's my own fault.
It's on 9 Network in Australia, I think. Well, not that Aussies need us to tell us where to watch it. Eurosport in Europe, ESPN in the Americas, TSN in Canada, Bein or Bein Sports in the Middle East, North Africa, Supersport in Sub-Saharan Africa. The brothers and sisters of Asia can acquaint themselves with Google, because I just couldn't figure it out. But
it will be on.
Yeah, it will be on. That leaves us to ask, because we've finished the tennis. Hopefully, as we always say, we've dangled a sufficiently large carrot for you to go and enjoy it. But there is one more thing to discuss. What's Gianni been up to, Jack?
What has Gianni Infantino been up to this week? So this week, he's probably done the worst thing he's ever done. I was just getting to the point that maybe I was coming back round to him. I mean, he didn't say anything last week. He didn't do anything. At least he didn't say anything bad. But then he went and he was hanging out with Robert Kraft and watching the New England Patriots winning their wildcard match the other day. And he was garbed up in full bloody New England Patriots gear as well. Robert Kraft obviously being a former Trump donor. Yeah, may or may not be friends with him. There's conflicting opinions on that. But yeah, given the week that America has had and Donald Trump has had, probably the last place you'd want to be as a semi-political figure. But let's just pretend nothing's happening and go and watch some American football instead. That's what Gianni's been up to this week.
They asked FIFA to reconsider their peace prize going forward, didn't they? And they said they can't comment on political issues, which is a very ironic stance to take.
When they just given the President of the United States a peace prize.
Yeah.
And then America is now descending into, fascism. Let's just call it what it is. If it wasn't last week, it certainly is this week.
Yeah.
It's a disgrace.
We can't give the last word to Gianni and the politics of the United States. So shall we just say the Winter Olympics is on the horizon?
Yeah.
And we're going to do a little mini-series, probably 10 episodes of shorter versions on different Winter Olympic sports in the build-up to the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, as many as we can get out, really. There's too much sport on to do full episodes on it. There's too much going on to do. I mean, we could do a bit on the history as well of the whole darn thing, but yeah, mini episodes are the way forward, so we'll give you a taster of what's to come.
A couple of them might be longer. We'll probably indulge on bobsleighing.
Why not?
Yeah, because there's some good stories, and there's obviously one that everyone knows that we're going to talk. Yeah, so until we start releasing those, until next time.
Ciao for now.
Ciao.
Once again, thank you so much for tuning into this Feast of January Sport. If you liked it, or if you're feeling generous, or maybe if you're feeling bored, please leave us a like, a comment, a rating, or whatever you like. And please tell a friend about us and spread that sporting word. Our theme tune is Oh Yeah by Harmonia Productions. You can find us on Blue Sky and Instagram at The Sporting Almanac. Next up, we begin our Winter Olympic bite-sized episodes, and we are buzzing. Until then, whether or not you'd actually be able to get a visa to Australia, sport is nothing without the history that makes it. Have a bonza day, mates.